is actually, it's the fear of, they think that when wife comes to the house, they will take the son away.
You don't need to go talking to your mother about
Good.
every little issue you've got with your
Good.
wife. Because no matter what, that mother is going to hate your wife then.
Good.
She's going to think, oh, she's manipulating my son, and vice versa.
Good.
I respect and love her. However, I need to understand that my husband needs time with his mum. It's his mum.
There's cases where women go into the household as a wife and they have already have this mindset that no, my mother-in-law is going to be evil.
It's a red flag to see that you're going to take your mother's side when your wife clearly on the right side of the deen.
I don't think there's anything the son can do about it. If it's a mummy's boy, I genuinely believe that it's because of the mother.
If your mom comes and tells you or oppresses your wife, you respect your mom, but you respectfully say, Mom, no, because Allah tells us in the Qur'an, speak the truth even if it's against yourself or kin.
Some mothers-in-law really cause fitna
Yes.
because they will gossip now
Yes. Oh
my
about the
days.
wife.
Yes.
Other aunties, sisters.
It's your
Yeah.
responsibility as a man to keep the woman folk, be it your mom, in check in a respectful way, both of them.
So as a kid, I'm sure most Bengalis were, I was beat all the time for no reason. I'd smile too much, they'd beat me. Was that stays with you to an extent and you start resenting your parents for it.
When you commit sins outside, my brother or my sister, you will see it in your children, you will see it in your car. I'm telling you, bro, you will see the consequences of your sin, ripple effects everywhere.
I find it difficult to wrap my head around why you would be jealous of your son having a wife. I just find it very strange.
IslamNet is raising funds to establish a masjid and community center in Norway, and they urgently need your support. This donation will be a sadaqah jariyah for you, because every person that comes a step closer to Allah through your donation, you will inshallah be reaping the reward. Click the link and donate what you can.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters and dear friends. Welcome to another episode of the Bitter Truth Show. Hope you guys are well, inshallah. We've got amazing guests. We've got 5 sisters, alhamdulillah, and we've got 3 brothers here. Today's topic is very interesting, actually. And I think a lot of people, from my circles, etc., when it comes to dealing with the mother-in-law. So a lot of brothers get stuck. They're like, listen, and we know the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law, there's disputes, etc. So the topic at hand is very simple. How to deal with your mother-in-law, and also as a man, how does one juggle? Because one is the one who gave birth to you, the other one that is the one that's given birth to your children. So it's a very hard dynamic, and a lot of people want, how can we go about this? How do we deal with this? So in a nutshell, I don't know if you guys have any experience, I don't know if you guys have been married or not, for that matter. You don't need to go personal, but yes, how do you guys, for example, have you ever experienced mother-in-laws being high expectations of like you're a slave, like she owns you, you need to cook, you need to clean, like you're like servitude, like you're her slave. Is this common? Do you see this in specific cultures? Can we go, sister?
Yeah, I think they want to be appreciated.
Okay.
Maybe that's
Who wants to be appreciated?
the mother-in-law. So she's quite hard on the woman.
Have you ever witnessed this in families or etc.?
I have in my own family, actually, and it's kind of mean to do that to a person that's an outsider.
Okay, all right.
And they don't. On top of that, like, they don't want to have that conversation as well. And
Okay.
yeah.
All right, sisters, have you guys come across this?
I think seeing a lot of friends that have been married and stuff, the things that from what they told me, it actually, the whole thought of going into another family, being with your mother-in-law, it derives from the fact that sometimes the mother-in-law is actually, it's the fear of they think that when wife comes to the house, they will take the son away. And when they say that, what they mean is it's no longer the mother-in-law giving, asking her son to do something. And now it's like another person is in the household and she is his priority as well. So I think a lot of it derives from the thought, again, of the fact that it's just pure fear that the son is going to be taken away. But it shouldn't be like that.
It's because she's built her entire world around her son. And so, to the idea of another woman, taking her son away, it's like an abandonment issue kind of thing as well. I've seen that a lot in like South Asian community.
Sunny, and
Yeah,
it does
South
happen in our culture as well. And it doesn't have to purely mean that, the mother-in-law is evil. There's cases where women go into the household as a wife and they already have this mindset that, no, my mother-in-law is going to be evil. Like, she's going to do this
It's
to me, she's going to
because-
do this to me. But if you go with the mindset and you don't even know how the woman is, how she is, or how she might be the complete opposite of what the mindset you have, and you're going into that marriage thinking she's going to treat me like this, but it's going to affect how you function within that marriage when you go into that house because of your mindset.
So my question to you then would be, how do you deal with a mother-in-law like that?
I personally wouldn't know, but I do feel like a man has to have that balance. So again, you have to learn to balance. It's like, they say you should never scold, you should never shout at your wife in front of your mother, and you should never shout at your mother in front of your wife. So that's like, when you find something wrong, that say your wife has done something wrong, if you say it, to her, if you say it to her in front of your mother-in-law, this is scenarios that we've heard. Like, I don't know if you've seen, but on Twitter there are crazy, like, but stuff that people write and all these situations. And it's like, you just have to kind of like find the balance between how to handle your mom and how to handle your wife. So
Would you move in with you, like, and live with your mother? After you and your husband are you and your husband are newly married.
I personally,
I wouldn't.
I would.
It's quite common in the Asian culture, right?
South Asian, yeah.
Because now you've got two dynamics. Number one, the first dynamic is the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law cannot maybe get on, for that matter. Then men are stuck in the middle. But then it's when you live with them. And to me, that's like...
The thing
how
is,
the dynamics work, because, bro, that is crazy, bro. It's disaster.
it's the man's responsibility at the end of the day to make sure like the mother-in-law and the wife have got a good relationship.
Okay.
One thing I'll advise is, if you have any disputes with your wife or your mother or anything like that, never combine the two. You don't need to go talking to your mother about every little issue you've got with your wife, because no matter what, that mother is going to hate your wife then. She's going to think, oh, she's manipulating my son, and vice versa. I've seen the wife hating the mother-in-law because of what the husband's told her.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
This is a
There
basic
needs a balance.
principle that I mentioned in other episodes as well. Yeah, I have a very strict. Me personally, I strictly never ever tell my mum the disputes that I have with my wife. My mum will come and say to me, "What kind of a son are you? You never open up to me." And I'm like, "Mum, it's between me and my wife. Me and her are gonna be okay. If I tell you she did A, you're gonna remember she's treating my son like this." And it can be something that you're making up in your head. You've made it bigger than it is. So I make it a principle. I never, ever tell my mom till this day, bro. Ever. My mom will look at me. She will go, like, why are you not telling me? What happened? Well, like, I get a bit of a... My mom goes ham. I'm like, I just like had a little argue with my wife. And I've come to my mom's, yeah? And then now my mom's, I'm like, oh, allow me, man. And then she's like, no, please. And to me, it's like that principle is very important, because some marriage counselors say that the biggest reason why divorces happen is because you get involved. So major principle, sisters, again, you guys are emotional. You get your like family members involved immediately. The topic at hand is not getting in-laws involved, but the mother-in-law, and to now live with them. Aki, how could you live and have a fight and they don't hear it? That's the problem.
I'll give you a bit of information of like why South Asians move in for like their mother-in-laws and stuff.
It's
have you?
yeah,
Okay, well,
our conclusion was
Yeah.
they're not obliged to.
Yeah, no, they don't have to. Islamically, you don't have to. But a lot of people do it because they're such a tight-knit community anyway. Like when I grew up, I lived with about 3 different families. We couldn't afford to live separately. So they've taken that mentality and now they've run with it, and that's passed on to the next generation. How many Asian boys do you know that are saying, oh, you need to live with my family, my parents and stuff? I'd say it's more common than it's not. Even if they can afford to live out, they want their mother to be close. They're called mummy's boys, aren't they? That's what it is. But for me, yeah. Oh no, of course it does. I'm not encouraging it.
Your like, your wife, she says she wants something, but then your mother-in-law, like, she disputes this.
Yeah.
Who do you listen to?
So Islamically, I think actually, I did a bit of research on this. Correct me if I'm wrong. Once you get married, your wife should be the bigger priority than your mother. Do you know what I mean? So for me, if I got married, right, I wouldn't mind if my wife lived with my parents, because I know my parents are going to treat her right. I know what kind of people they're like. But I know so many Bengali parents, they just don't. I know they won't be able to treat their like daughter-in-law well. Do you know what I mean? Because they've got like a superior mindset. Someone coming, yeah, go on.
I would say the foundation and the basis should be respect. So, as a wife, to understand your husband's mother's position. She's his mum, she gave birth to him. You respect and love her for that. However, Islamically, she has no rights over you. So, just to be able to understand that, you know what, this is my mother-in-law. Even if, for example, I'm going to speak more about the fact that they don't get on. Even if I wasn't to get on with my mother-in-law, I respect and love her. However, I need to understand that my husband needs time with his mum. It's his mum at the end of the day. And Jannah lies under the feet of your mother. So even if me and my mother-in-law weren't to get on, and alhamdulillah, me and my mother-in-law are fine. But if we weren't to be getting along, I would still respect her for that. And I would, because at the end of the day, I can only be in control of my actions and how I act. I cannot control the other person. So you have to understand that everyone is an individual, but 100% the responsibility lies on the husband to create a strong boundary that your mum is not to speak to your wife crazy. Your mum is not to blur the lines.
Slave her
and get
about, nothing like
involved.
that.
She's not supposed. I don't really agree with living with your parents-in-law in the first place, but she's not supposed to get involved into your relationship. And there is lines and boundaries. It's your relationship, it's your marriage, your contract between you, her, and Allah, not you, her, your mum, and everyone else. You're not all sleeping in the same bed. And he has to have that backbone. And I know that some men are like mummies.
People lack that backbone. Yeah.
But like, you're gonna lose your wife, and what are you gonna do? Stay with your mum?
I find the whole jealousy into the whole jealousy thing, like the jealousy among like mothers and sons, a bit weird personally, like very strange. Like, but when it comes to like evil mother-in-laws and mummy's boys, when it comes to mummy's boys, it's never the son's fault. It's always the mothers who entice their sons to make certain decisions. It's never the other way around. Right, sometimes it is, but I've always found that it is the mother's fault when it comes down to men being abused. It's just because like the mum's always in his business, asking him what's going on. I find it difficult to wrap my head around why you would be jealous of your son having a wife. I just find it very strange and weird.
I think, I've seen this somewhere. It's a really deep rooted thing. It's a deep rooted psychological thing where the husband was not as great of a husband to her. So she, I guess, yeah, she found that in her son, and that's why she gets that deep connection with her son. So anything that comes, it threatens her relationship because, her husband wasn't a great husband, didn't give her the emotional support or whatever it is that she needed. So that's why she's making that up with her son.
I think that's
Yeah, of course. But they don't realize they're doing that though. They don't
Exactly. I
realize
think
that
it's
we're
like
doing
when
that.
girls have daddy issues because
Yeah.
they crave that. And the thing is, I think it's what I was going to touch upon. This. I think that's what it stems from is that the husband is not in their life and maybe they've divorced. She feels lonely, and there's a fear as well at the end of the day because a lot of women come to this realization, which those who initiate divorce, because you need to understand your kids are going to get married. That's when you're going to realize you're with your cat or your dog. Well, dogs are haram, but or your bag or where you're going to live with. Yeah. It depends if it's a bad dog. So the thing is here is that this is when the realization hits a lot of women because whatever for reason, I'm saying there might be valid reasons, but then what happens is when the father's at the picture and they're lonely now, and now the son getting married is terrifying to them.
Yeah.
And especially imagine for yourself as well, put yourself in their shoes as well, yeah? Because one day you guys are going to, yeah? And this is very interesting. Whenever I talk about these issues, like whenever it's feminism or this kind of stuff, I realize, you know what changed the dynamics? The moment when these sisters come and talk about, no, but, he should do this, that, I'm like, okay, just imagine that's your son. Their
will
whole,
just have
bro, you know what
strong,
happens?
healthy
Their whole
boundaries
demeanor
from the
changes. They're like,
get-go.
oh yeah, I'm gonna have a son one day. I'm like, yeah, imagine, would you want the wife to do that? So think about it. You guys are gonna be mother-in-laws one day, yeah? Imagine being at home alone and your son is getting married, yeah? This will put into perspective. That's why I can see some of the sisters are smirking, yeah? Is because now it's like, oh my gosh, actually that's gonna be me one day. So imagine it's frightening, but at the same time, there should be boundaries. I'll come to later about it. But
not disagreeing, but
No, you can. You're right.
so
I'll get you back.
yeah. Basically, I don't know if you guys know, but the problems of the ummah work like this. So you have Gen X, the millennials, and then Gen Z. When the Gen X, they don't solve their problems, it's gonna go to move on to the words of the millennials. And when they don't solve their problems, so now you have two problems, they move on to the Gen Z. Now, Gen Z, now we have three problems. For example, just because, yes, within the frame of respect, hikmah, you advise your parents, yes. But just to say, because no matter where the toxicity is coming from cultural standpoint or just from a purely attachment side, it doesn't mean she has a right to just walk all over the sun. Everyone has a fair, because it's Allah legislated, not man legislated laws that we've been prescribed upon. Every human, every position, no matter father, mother, nephew, niece, you have your own position. You can only say to a certain extent. And the way you say it and the way you go about and do it is very different. Now, coming to the son-in-law.
30 seconds.
Coming to the son-in-law is that he needs to know what he should and should not do before marriage. And to be honest, I'm not going to say he's not ready for marriage, but it's a red flag. It's a red flag to see that you're going to take your mother's side when your wife is clearly on the right side of the deen. Because Kalimatul Ulya, Allah's plan is higher for us in every avenue of life, period. There's no go way about doing it this way or that way.
Right. No, it's interesting you mentioned whether the father or the husband would be absent or not. I think that actually makes it easier for the man to become the man of the house, especially the oldest. Me personally, as everyone knows, I live with my grandma. But yeah, because I live with my grandma, I won't move out. The older she gets, the more she's gonna have to be looked after. So I'm gonna stay at mine, like basically, and then it will be mine after. If my wife in the future will move in with me. But the only reason I'm able to do that is because my grandfather is dead. So I don't know, the lack of fathers, you'd think, I guess it's either or. Like my family's never been like that, but I know other families like that. But I just find it strange. Like, I keep going back to that. It's weird, it's strange, but it's difficult to have an opinion on it because it's quite a taboo thing to have. Because they're not thinking about their sons in strange ways like that. It's just you've got something, yeah, as you said, like there's something not quite right there. But I don't think there's anything the son can do about it. If it's a mummy's boy, I genuinely believe that it's because of the mother. There's nothing your husband.
The thing is, he at the end of the day, he is still an individual. If you get married, you have to fulfill the rights of your wife.
Okay, let me just change. All right, cool. That's
so
true.
he needs to somehow
let's
put a backbone and stand up for himself.
Yeah, and 100%, I agree with that. He does. But there's
it's not his fault. It's not his fault. I think that's what I forgot to say. It's not his fault. He is the way he is.
Yeah.
It's still his fault. He's a man. He has to take accountability. If you're married and your mother's deciding how your marriage works, where she lives, that's ridiculous.
Away from young.
But you should still change your mindset. You should discover Islam, research it, find out why am I like this? Why has my mother got such a hold on me? I need to change it because I'm never going to have a successful relationship if my mother dictates everything. Do you know what I mean? And another thing as well, I want to say, for devil's advocate, I don't believe in this, but I think sons sort of value their mother so much because of the hadith. What is it that heaven lays at your mother's feet? So I think so I think a lot. Is it a weak narration? But a lot of boys they'll use that as an excuse. Not an excuse. They'll say, this is why we value our mother so much, and sometimes they value the mother more than the wife because they think we're gonna go if we treat our mother right.
Your parents are gates to Jannah.
Yeah.
So your mother is a gate to Jannah. How you treat her, and yes, you should respect your mum, but then there's a thin line between. I get what you're saying, but I do feel like some of these men, and I have examples of this, they really are mummy's boys. Like, oh, I'm gonna go to my mum. Oh, my mum. Oh yeah, my mum used to cook this like this, or they start bringing examples of their mum.
Like comparison.
Do you want to marry your
comparison?
Do you want to marry your mum? Sorry, and then on top of that, you are now like, just my mum. You are comparing me to your mum, and it makes them seem immature. But also, I have an example of this girl that I know. her mother-in-law would call her and be like, you need to put makeup on, you need to dress up for your husband. She just gave birth. Oh,
Yeah, it's mad.
you've not really done your hair.
Heard of this
Oh,
as
you've
well.
not really
it's common, man.
But who
And
are
also-
you to?
Yeah.
She'll FaceTime her and then see her and be like,
That's what-
yeah, I see you. You're not really, you have to do this. When you do ghusl, you have to put musk. When
Yeah.
you just overstepping boundaries and just
Yeah, too-
being all up in my business when you really don't have business up in my business.
Yeah.
And I just think it's like, it's weird. Like I find it very weird. And when I heard of that, I just thought,
To touch on that as well, similar situation. I know like a lot of relatives, at least 5 or 6, that have gone through divorces because of the mother-in-law.
because of the mother.
And
by
let me
the
say
way,
one
they
thing.
divorced.
Let me say one thing.
By the way, they
yeah.
divorced
They
because
9
of the
times they will
mother-in-law.
divorce usually
Because
out of
she
this.
was
But let me
doing
say one thing.
too
It's the husband's duty to communicate with the daughter what's expected and what she expects. They need to have a conversation. So I had this, I'm not going to say who it was, but I had like a, let's say, family friend. She moved in with her husband, right? They're in love, whatever, right? She doesn't wear the hijab or anything like that. I don't know if she's practicing or not, I have no idea. But her mother-in-law like demanded, you have to wear the hijab, you have to come down, you have to cook and clean. And then she asked her husband, like, we never agreed this, what's going on? Like, you never said I was supposed to be a servant for essentially
But there is no
your
agreement in
mother.
that thing. Like, as far as I
No,
know,
but they need to-
it's out of her goodwill.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
doesn't-
Yeah, she doesn't need to
she
do
doesn't-
that.
She doesn't need to.
She only needs to care about her
Yeah.
own family, not
That's-
extended
Exactly.
family.
We've done an episode. She has no right to stay with them.
Yeah, she
We've
doesn't
done
have
an
to.
episode. Islamically, she has a
But
right
that's
to ask
why
for her own
it's-
place. But obviously, it's from a rahmah.
It's-
If she sees that the mother's alone, it's her choice that she has mercy. And they talk about it before. If she said, if he should be clear and say, look, I have a mom. We've got nowhere to go. You would have to live with us.
Yeah.
We'll try our best to the dynamics where you're not in each other's face that much, etc. It is hard, but it's what it's like. There's an ayah in the Quran which is very interesting. Allah says in the Quran, the good deed and the evil deed does not cannot be equal. Repel evil with one which is better, and it says faithful believers. And then it says Allah orders the faithful believers to be patient at the time of anger and excuse those who treat them badly. Listen carefully. It says, then verily, he between whom you and there is an animosity, enmity, as you will become good friends. So this very Allah saying good and evil is not the same. Repel evil which that is good, that you might have animosity, for example, between the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law, that you might dislike each other, but Allah puts that mercy in between you guys. You get it? So the point is very simple. Like me, from my personal experience, when it comes to this stuff, I realize boundaries are very important. So, for example, I'll give you an example. Like my mom, for example, it's a little bit personal, but like I'm comfortable mentioning it, yeah. And I'm doing this for the sake of Allah. So genuinely, I don't want people like this. These things break down marriages. So the bitter truth is about that. That to me, for example, I can remember once my wife, I think she made roast, and it took her a whole day. Like it was like, and she wanted to do it, yeah. And actually, to be honest, even if she didn't want to do it, if I ask her, she should probably do it. Yeah, may Allah bless her. So the point is this, because some people are like, yeah, I have to ask, yeah, blue pill nonsense. But the point is this, and red pill is nonsense also. She was cooking, so what happened is she was really, I could see she's exhausted. So what I said to her, I said, I'll do the dishes. I wanted to, because I used to work in a Bengali restaurant and I used to wash the dishes, yeah. So I don't really mind. I like cleaning cars and stuff like that. It's just a hobby of mine. Anyways, so I said I'm going to do the dishes. Now, my mum was like, get out the kitchen. Yeah, she's like, get out the kitchen, because mom was very like, we've been growing up like that. Do you get it? My mom, if she would spoon feed me to this table, literally, bro. Where are you? Like, and that's mother. But I had to communicate to her, and I said, Mom, listen, I want to wash the dishes. What you're doing now, because the thing is, like, if my wife understood, because he's speaking to me in the language, but she might feel a bit hurtful, like, what's wrong if he's helping me? Do you get it? Now, is my mom coming from an evil place? No. It's because to her tradition, she's seen that. So now I was in a real life situation where I was like, oh my gosh, I need to, the balance, this, you get what I'm trying to say? So I spoke in my language and I said, Mom, we'll talk about it later. Yeah. I said, let me just finish. We'll talk about it later. Yeah. So I done the dishes, like I helped her with the dishes, etc. Because she was telling me, like, my mom was saying, go, I'll do it. So she wasn't saying let your wife do it. She's saying, I'll do it. So I spoke to her later and I said, Mom, you need to understand, I have a dynamic with my wife. Your dynamic may have been different. My dynamic is totally different. If you get involved, all it's going to do is and I'm happy where I am. Don't get involved. Yeah? With all due respect, I had to like break it down because, Mom, I don't want to hurt her feelings. You get it? So I was in a real life situation where I had to break that down. And even if my wife kind of sensed it, I was like, "Oh, was your mom saying?" I was like, "No, I know." She was just asking me about, I just had to make up something like, "Yeah, in Turkey, yeah, something about something else." Yeah, so I had to mention it, and that's when I realized the dynamics I need to work with. And that worked with me. And my mom sometimes had those tendencies again, where I'm doing something where I'm helping my wife. She just doesn't want me be like in the kitchen. It's not that she's saying, let your wife do it. She's like, I'll do it, you go sit down. And I'm like, Mom, no, you relax. You've come to our house.
That's because of how she was brought up. So you can't even blame your mom to
So
an
we can't
extent.
really blame.
You just
So
need to speak to her.
Exactly. Communication is a must. And sometimes, like, for example, I see in families, I speak to brothers as well, they're like, how do I deal with this? And I'm like, one brother said to me that it's not that the mother-in-law was transgressing, but there were certain things that she was doing that was a little bit hurtful to the wife. But the wife was patient.
They often are. They often are.
Sorry to cut you, but there's an example of some mothers-in-law really cause fitna
Yes.
because they will gossip now
Yes. Oh
my
about the
days.
wife.
Yes.
Other aunties, sisters.
Just feeling weird, and other sisters, cousins, and other family members are feeling some type of way because, you know, the mother has said, oh, she's dirty, or she doesn't do this. Oh, you know, I saw my son cleaning the dishes and he was doing this and she doesn't even do this, you know. And then the family are now looking at the wife sideways, and she can't now build a relationship with other family members
Because they're judging her
And now
already.
they judged her based upon
So that's
said.
Just one thing.
And that is really a big
so
problem.
toxic. That's a
Toxic. One thing that I learned from the experience as well with brothers as well is that very suddenly, sorry. Oh, sorry. So one thing that me personally, Aki, is when I spoke to my mom, and I told her, I said, Mom, please, I'm just asking, with this stuff, please don't. Lord, please, just don't, yeah? I noticed in my mom that she was more careful.
yeah.
And I realized my mom was like, okay, I'll just leave you and your wife. You guys, she went a little, she's like, okay, whatever. Like, so I realized my mom understood as a son. I put a little boundary in place in the best possible way with kindness, and it worked. Now my mom, like, not that my mom, I don't want to get into details with my mom and my wife's relation, alhamdulillah, yeah? I don't want to get into details, yeah? But the point is this, yeah? It worked.
There you go.
Mom would be less, she wouldn't come, even if she sees it, she doesn't say nothing.
You know-
So as a man, you have to, it's your
Yeah.
responsibility as a man to keep the woman folk, be it your mom, in check in a respectful way. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Both of them. So it's your responsibility. If you don't do that, there has to be accountability. I don't buy this nonsense of mummy boys. I don't give a damn.
I've already-
You're a mummy boy. You can come out of it. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
100%.
It's this is nonsense of I don't care. You get it? It's your job. If I let my mum, I swear to God, I would have been a mummy's boy today. If I let my mum do, I swear my mum would not let me work. I had to come out of that. I went and lived on my own. I had to go and explore life. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So there's no excuse in doing that. So it's a duty.
You know, I already spoke to my mother. I'm not even married yet, but I spoke to her mother. I was just asking her questions. I didn't set boundaries. I just asked her, what would you do if me and my missus had like a dispute of some sort? Like, would you get involved? She's like, no, that's only for you two to discuss. If you need my advice, I'll give you. But apart from that, she's not going to get involved. That's the perfect approach. Like, the mother's there when you need advice. That's it. But touching on the point of what the sister said with toxic, like, gossiping and stuff like that, it's so prominent in our culture, South Asian culture. Everyone gossips about everyone. It's crazy. Like, that's what splits marriages apart. Like, little gossips that half times they're not even true. The Bengali sisters can probably like say the same thing. Bengali aunties
Most
are.
times, like, the wife will come and tell the husband, like, look, your mom's like, she's playing games.
Yeah.
She's playing all these games. She's making lines upon my name, and the guy will be like, dare you speak about my mom like that? How dare you? It's so bad. Like, they really hold their mom to a really high standard in a very weird way. And then if there's also if you're a mommy's boy, it comes hand in hand with like these guys expecting their wife to be exactly like their mom. Exactly.
Which is almost weird to an
So
extent, because you're
weird, like,
thinking, why
and
do you
then,
want to
like,
get
you know,
married
because
to?
if you're a mommy's boy, you've most likely been babied, and like you've just like sat in your room while your mom cleaned your clothes and picked up after you, and then they expect their wives to do the same thing. Exact thing.
Cook,
and when the wife
clean,
doesn't do this, when she
everything.
doesn't do the same thing, they're like,
So
my mom doesn't do this.
yeah, so let me ask
And
you
I'm
guys.
like,
Let me ask
yeah,
you guys
but
a question.
Not
then.
your mom, like.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys a question then. So let's say you found someone, you're getting married to him. His mom and dad, they're quite ill. They need someone to look after him. He's the only son or the eldest son. Would you be okay with them moving in with you, or no?
Sorry. Allah shafihum. But my house is my house. I will come personally to look after your parents every single day. I will come every day that I'm able. I will bring them shopping. I will look after them. help them clean their feet, whatever the hell you want me to do. But I'm not living with them.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
Personally, I have to live my life.
And you want your
lived their
privacy as well,
60,
innit?
60 years of life, 70 years of life, and now they want to enforce it. That's unfair as well. In Islam, we are not supposed to burden one another, and that would be a burden to me. I'm not saying I wouldn't look after them. Of course, I want the hasanat, but we can do that from separate houses. We can live closely enough, and I'll go and look after them. I'm not inclined to live in the household with them and become the slave, essentially.
Okay.
No. Yes, I will help, but yeah.
What about you
Live
guys?
with them and you're not a slave. Because they don't have demands. They're just like, look, totally respect.
I think
The thing is, a lot of women want privacy. A lot of women will want their own privacy to walk around without hijab on, for example. When their father-in-law's there or brothers of the father.
Father-in-law's fine.
I know, but like, for example, I've got a little brother, right? So if my wife moved in with me, she'd have to wear the attire, wouldn't she? So that's the issue. So if I get married, you know,
It's true, but you know which comes to our point, which is interesting, is that okay, these are mummy's boys, yeah. You guys are gonna be mummies, and you're gonna maybe have boys. So we need to come to how are you guys? Is it the mummies? Because we're talking about the mother-in-law, but you guys are gonna be mothers as well one day. So how would you guys educate your sons? Because this is an issue that you guys are gonna face. You know, it's going to be you one day with your daughter-in-law. So in that aspect, dynamics are going to change. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, I was talking about myself all that time. So what would you guys say about imagine if you had sons, how would you nurture them and teach them the dynamic to understand when that time comes? Can we start with Sister Karun?
what I would first and foremost say is with children, they're creatures of imitation. So they don't actually think for themselves until a certain age. So for me personally, the best way to teach them to really truly be a strong man is through modeling it. You need to first find it in a man, and the man can model that aspect of it, and you as a woman can give like that emotional support, teach him empathy, teach him, you know, the things that is important. The life skills like cooking and cleaning and doing the laundry. Yeah, exactly. Teach them all of that. To be self-sufficient as well. But you can say words, but they don't really mean much other than showing it. Yeah, that's the best way. Lead by example.
Okay.
I think I would teach my son to, you know, he needs to have a say in certain things. A lot of parents I see that, for example, we're talking about mommy's boys, right? One of the reasons why they can't stand up for themselves in front of their mothers is because they keep it in themselves. It's the fear, right? Again, it's the fear. If you teach your child, your son, from from the age where he has the ability to understand that he now has a say in the decisions that he makes, and he has a opinion. When he grows up, he will have those boundaries. He will be able to stand up to his mother and say that, Mom, this is how I want it, this is what I don't want. But if he's not taught from a young age, from when he has the ability, that he can have a say, he can have an opinion, and he can have a mindset. Like, if he wants something, he will say it. You as a mother need to make him feel comfortable enough for him to come and say that to you from a young age. If that doesn't happen and it just continuously goes on for when he becomes an adult, that's how it's going to be for the rest of his life.
Yeah, so if you're the son, and like, how would you train him? Because at the end of the day, if you treat him in a way where you do everything for him, it's going to end up being that mom's boy that you warn against.
I would give my son responsibilities from the get-go. Financial responsibilities, in the sense that I would give him pocket money to go, like, let's say we go like food shopping together, and I'll give him the money, you pay for it. It'll give him like a sense of responsibility. Doing things around the house, let's say if he has younger siblings, making sure they're okay, giving him a sense of responsibility, which is going to make him feel like a man from the get-go. Because I feel like for a man, what makes a man is having that responsibility, and eventually you start to form your own opinion, your own identity. Yeah.
Good. That's interesting, because you see what you're doing here. You're nurturing, and this is very important. Why father figures are important.
Yeah.
Studies show that
100%.
a single father does a better job raising than a single mother. Because you need to understand, there's some studies that show this, yeah? Reason being is, for example, when a woman gets divorced, she needs to adapt or take on masculine traits, providing, you get it? But if you think about it, the opposite doesn't really happen. You don't see a man who's a single father becoming feminine. So it shows that we need masculinity to survive. So, which is very key. So it's very important. This is the reason why we talk about divorce. And I know, look, it happens. We're not trying to blame people, etc. The stigma, divorce happens. It's normal. But trying your best not to, because the detriments, the after effects are quite drastic as well. It's important because what that means is, again, as a mother, you need to take on these masculine roles to now make him a man. Now, there's going to be a certain point, because I see a lot of people where the sons reaching the age of 14, 15, there's no more, bro, he's a grown, he's bigger than his mum. Now it's gone out of the rule. I've seen a video.
From young.
I saw it, actually, I'll tell you something very interesting here. It's, man, and this is very fundamental. So my wife, and I'm giving this from personal experience, because wallahi, the only reason I'm doing this is because I see for myself it works. So I just want people to adapt it. Is that my wife would call my little daughter, like, change the nappy, yeah? She ain't coming for nothing. Bro, the moment I walk in the room and I just say, ladies and gentlemen, like, lay down, I'm telling you, my wife last week, she was cops. She was like, she had a mouth drop. I was like, what? No, of course, all praise belongs to Allah. And then she was shocked. She's like, I've been fighting here. Bro, all I did was look after and said, listen, up, lay down, yeah? Bro, she was putting her legs in the nappy, bro. Like, you get it? Like, her legs were in the nappy, yeah? And I just said, you need to understand the dynamics is a rahmah, but also with me, it's, do you get what I'm trying to say? This is how, and this is a daughter, this is my daughter. For my son, boy, yeah, boxing, yeah? But I'm telling you, on a different level. You know why?
Important.
Because we have so much burden on our shoulders. The responsibility is so great. If I don't show him the hardship now, this world is going to destroy. So that's the reason why one of the things we need to teach our sons. I don't have a son. I got 3 daughters, alhamdulillah, yeah? But I will teach my son to be a man. Do you get what I'm trying to say? If your mom comes and tells you or oppresses your wife, you respect your mom, but you respect, you say, Mom, no, because Allah tells us in the Qur'an, speak the truth even if it's against yourself or kin. Meaning to us, haqq is more beloved than my mom, my dad, I don't care. In a gentle way, you say, Mom, I'm so sorry, you're here, you're oppressing my wife. You're oppressing my wife, and this is not fair. It will put a boundary. I'm telling you, once, twice, third time, your mom's going to say, you know what? I'm going to take a step back. And as a man, it's your responsibility. There is no excuses of being a mommy's boy.
I've gone through this time and time again at home, so I'm really worn out saying it again. But the way I'll bring up my son will be quite harsh. No one's. Trust me, I don't think you're gonna like it.
No,
so,
bro, I tell my wife, if I had a son, I get boxing, I start punching his ribs slowly. Slowly. You have to, bro. Like slowly, because
It's not about punching, it's about mental toughness.
No.
I think teaching your son
That's
to be mentally tough.
True, but let me tell you something.
Bring on the
physically
discipline.
Let me tell you something. As men,
I know, obviously.
as men, we need physical pain. We love it. It has to be installed in there.
with the
You love it, bro. Try it.
This guy's sadistic.
Have a cold freezing shower, bro.
what yeah, no, I think the father figure is so important, you know. Yeah, because the father's the one that enforces the discipline 100%. I mean, even I have dogs. One of them is a guard dog, and it obviously they're not like children, but my nan will try and tell them what to do, and it just doesn't work because she's too nice. She treats them like actual human beings, and it's too nice. I only have to say things once, just one time, and they do as they're told. It's exactly the same with children as well. For me, bringing up my son, it will be completely different by building the sense of discipline. I know we had a similar conversation.
We did
speak about this, but I think it's just due to discipline. Yeah, I'll be harsh on both my children because the world is a very difficult place, a harsh and horrible place, and that's a reality of it. So I'm not really going to get into how I will discipline that because God knows how I'm going to discipline myself. I might not actually do the things I say now. So I don't want to give, say, the wrong things to people listening and say, yeah, that's a good idea, when in reality I wouldn't do it.
Shout, man. You get arrested for
So-
shouting, bro.
But yeah, no, one of the punishments, yeah, if you do anything wrong, if you swear, if you cuss, if you don't eat your dinner, I will make you sit against the wall and you will kneel against the wall for a full minute. And you will do that every single time you swear. And you will not swear ever again by the time you're a teenager, and you will learn this. I promise you. And this, and you know what? My kids, you know you're going to watch this maybe in like 10 years, yeah? Inshallah, you're going to watch this, yeah? And just remember, when all them times you spent against the wall, yeah, you could have prevented. Because you didn't have to swear, but yeah, no, seriously, 100%. I actually know people.
My
people that
question
do
would
that.
be,
I'm not gonna
where
lie.
did they learn to swear in the first place?
That's
Not me.
Because our children don't be swearing. Okay.
no, of course, that's interesting. Well, I was thinking about electrocuting them. I'm joking. I'm joking. Okay,
The shot color, innit? Yeah.
Okay, we're
not a
doing
taser.
touch.
So to speak. Let's talk about solutions. Let's talk about now solutions. This is part of it.
I think that's what everyone was talking about, maybe the symptoms, but the root is that when you have this toxic, I'm good. When you have this like toxic type of attachment to your kinfolk or your children or anybody, it's going to ruin you if it's to the extent. I know it's triggering for females who are thinking of becoming mothers, because it's heart corroding, because it's like, he's my son as a father or whatever. But still, it's that little type of thing, because look, sometimes I believe that we don't fear the day of judgment as we're supposed to, meaning that I can hit my hand like this. This is how the day of judgment will be, like this. However you see some danger in front of you, or maybe a stabbing, it's the same way you see the day of judgment. Your mother is not going to have a lawyer. You're not going to be your mom's lawyer. Your mom's not going to act as your lawyer, period. Sorry to say that, but it's the truth. So you having these boundaries, which are understandable, meaning that a mother is supposed to, nurture her child for generations to come. Meaning, if her son messes up, and to be honest, in terms of punishment, I know punishments can be, look, sometimes I got licks, a lot. I used to run away from my licks.
I only got one slap.
Yeah,
one.
Anything that used to be in my mom's hand, she could throw at me. You understand? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. No. No.
I admire him. His adab, his akhlaq, the way he carries himself. I think for nicks, bro.
No. The thing is that, that's what I'm saying. Hitting doesn't always mean it's going to work. What I mean by this, if you think that you're going to hit your children and they're going to fear Allah because of that, sorry, no. There's been plenty of people who got licks more than me. I know people, I've to the extent, I never got bruises. But it was that people got beaten more than me. They don't fear Allah. They do anything and everything in the world that comes to them. So you giving your son or daughter licks or stuff like that, it's not going to cut it. What is that? You need to analyze how your child actually ticks. Meaning that not every child is going to tick the same way. Even within your household, well, his mother's the same. All the kids will be the same. No. Even in the same house, every child has its own personality. Allah has created that person with his own risk. And risk doesn't just mean money. It means sustenance. It means your friends. It means your parents, how they treat you as well. So combating that thing of, just because that's my son or that's my whatever, it does not mean you have every legitimate way of saying this is what you can say and this is what you can't say. No, as a son, you're supposed to analyze that, I'm getting older now. These are the realities. For parents, alhamdulillah, have good health, and they will die just maybe naturally. Maybe Allah bless you and give you a good ending. But there's a reality where the current situation where a lot of people, where they're young, millennials, Gen Z, they take care of their parents. And one of the, to contextualize, but I don't think we contextualize enough, is that the issues is that we don't, so in terms of late 90s, there was the epidemic of AIDS and stuff like that, and the Ummah had to deal with, stuff like that. But now, I believe in 2030, I think half of the population will be suffering from depression. That's a factor that has to be catered for, meaning that a lot of people who are young, can they sustain that long period of time in terms of, being that support for their parents? If you can do it from a place where I'll dedicate this time and dedicate this time, then that's perfect, because every avenue of your life has a haqq, and you need to fulfill that to your end.
For me personally, if I had a son, that's not my business. That's his father's business, and my business is to teach him to push him to be mentally tough, to have discipline, to do his bed in the morning, to fast when he gets to a,
Just to nurture
a
him.
good age, to nurture
Yeah.
him, but also to know that I'm his mum. I'm not his girlfriend. I'm not his. I'm not dating him. Yeah, I want to be close with my kids. I have 2 daughters. I want them to see me like I'm their friend. So anything they can tell me, you know, I want to be that confident for my children. However, there's a boundary. So if he was to get married, and I think it's actually different because I'm going to be a mother-in-law to men, you know? So it's like, I don't know how that dynamic is going to be when my daughter brings a man home to me. Am I going to treat him like my son, or, you know, like that? It's a different, because we always think of mother-in-laws with a daughter or a woman, but we don't really think of it from the other perspective as well. So am I going to be extra grilling to the men that come? Am I going to be extra strict? Like, I don't know how I'm going to be, but I know for a fact that if my daughters were to bring me a man, I would be really looking out for the man's discipline. Is he able to provide for my daughter? I would want that in place before any man just takes my daughter just like that, you know. But yeah, for my son, it will be a very tough time at home. Not tough, it will be love. It will be love, nurture, I'll give him grace, but I would want him to be strong mentally to prepare, because the Chinese at the moment, they're not just sitting there just doing la-di-da fairy tales, and the Russians as well, they are teaching their sons to be men.
But they're also going through the biggest genocide known to mankind. The Chinese and Russians. You can't use that as an example. I think there's too strict and they're not strict enough. I think the Chinese are too strict. But on your point of
but just in regards to the difference between China and the UK, we're basically fairies compared to them. You know,
it's true.
Zero
Kids are coming out as non-binary at the age of like 2, 3, this and that. There's no discipline at all in the West. Yeah, but there is something called too much discipline. So as a kid, I'm sure most Bengalis were, I was beat all the time for no reason.
Yeah.
I'd smile too much, they'd beat me. Do you know what I mean? And I think there comes to a point where it's like, alhamdulillah, they're not like that anymore. But that stays with you to an extent, and you start resenting your parents for it. So there needs to be some sort of balance of discipline. To be honest, I don't think I'd ever physically hit my child. Islamically, it's wrong. Like, I know I think you can hit him on the back or something like that, right? Something like that, but lightly. But I'd never. It hurts me. If I hit my child, I'd be killed. Kill me.
You know, hitting and slapping your child and belting your child. Like in school, it's like, yeah, I'll get beat as a kid though. Like people like used to like kind of.
It was like a coping mechanism
Like,
to laugh about it.
Like not only laugh about it, but like kind of gloat, because it's obviously you do have the exception, but white people are rarely beaten by their parents. I was only ever slapped once. I've never been touched. My dad,
and a lot of them slap their children.
fair enough.
Well, white people.
Fair enough. My dad's a bit different. My dad is giving me slaps just to make it brother cry. But my while I was living with my nan, she only gave me a slap once, and that's because I wouldn't stop moving in the shower. And I had climbing pain. I wouldn't stop moving. She said, "Stop moving." I didn't stop moving. I kept wriggling about, and she said, "Stop moving." I just went stiff. I just went still, and I stopped moving. And yeah, it worked. But But I just find it sad to the point where if you're getting beats for no reason.
Yeah,
that was a time. Because it wasn't a slap to hurt me. It was a slap to get me.
Yeah, that's the difference.
And like to fix up. So I just think like. I don't know. I can't really remember the reason.
I think
why
physically hitting the
physical
child,
violence
it's just not. There's
because the
there's no excuse for it. You can't do it. You shouldn't do it.
forbade us
Yeah.
from punishing disobedient animals, like using physical violence on the disobedient animals, let alone human beings. And you have to remember that we belong to Allah. Every time, like especially for parents, like before you decide, oh, I'm going to beat this child because I gave birth to this child, remember that Allah gave you this child as an amanat, as a gift, and you've been placed to take care of them. So how are you abusing your authority in that?
Let me correlate that back to mommy's boys, right? So let's say a mother and father, they hit their boys all the time, right? That boy's going to grow up to fear their parents. and he's going to fear them so much that he's going to listen to everything they say growing up. So there's a correlation. That's why I
But
don't
eventually, you need to grow a backbone.
No, yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Because
But
someone's
it-
gonna get beat up
Yeah.
so many times until they come to a breaking point. They're like, you know what? Like I'm not.
That doesn't always happen. Though. It doesn't always happen.
I think
Let's
we're
be
talking-
honest. If
we're talking about extremes.
you're hitting your child, even if it's a little slap,
It's
if
wrong.
you think about it, it's violating the child.
Say
That
again?
moment, it's
You don't think it's wrong hitting a child?
It's legal in this
child-
country.
It's legal. There's loads of things legal.
You're
That's
allowed to-
horrible.
No, I know, but you're allowed to give your child
Yeah.
a slap, and
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's necessary.
Yeah.
And as a mum now, I'm telling you now, when you become a parent, I rarely slap my child. Yeah, I like communicating with my child. However, there's been times where I've had to give her a little spank because she was about to run into the road, even though we've spoken about it. So sometimes you have to feel it as well as understanding it,
Yes.
because there's a dangerous situation here and the child is not listening. Sometimes you can give them a little slap. I'm not saying
Yeah.
beat your child. The way I got
There's the
beat
difference. That's the
is
difference.
different to
But regardless, let's see what Islam says about this. Ali, what does Islam say about hitting your
To
child?
be honest, I don't know, bro. I don't talk about.
you're
stuff
not
like
allowed
that.
to
As far as
hit
I know,
in the face.
In the face, I know that, but
I don't know, bro. I'm not sure, not really versed on this one. I don't know anything that says. I don't know. But
Be more
but the
tough
point
on your
that I'll
child
say is
with
that
your
you
voice.
words, yeah,
Yes.
tonalities, everything.
Your
Rachel.
tone.
No,
My
also-
children
also-
will listen with my
No,
tone.
no, you have to, bro. I think even like there has to be like, even though Allah says in the Quran when it comes to like dealing with your wife, which is the third thing when it comes to like, and it depends how it's understood. Some say it's symbolic. Some say it's like a miswak when you're disciplining your wife.
Yeah.
It's more symbolic. It's like that. It can be, for example, if she's becoming violent, etc., that I can restrain her.
Okay.
Because at the end, it's that you cannot cause bruise, pain, leave a mark, hit the face. Yeah. So restraining, anyone can restrain. The police can restrain. So are we saying that categorically you cannot touch anybody? No. Anyone would agree that at one point,
No, definitely,
if
yeah.
whoever it is for that matter.
If
so
it's required,
Yes.
necessity, then yeah.
and you need to understand, all of us, exactly. And the thing is, how many of us have been through hard tests, what Allah's tested us with? Have we all been through that?
That's it.
Okay.
Everyone must have been.
Does that mean Allah hates us? Okay, so therefore, did that make us a better people? Did that
Yeah.
make us better people? There you go. So which shows you what? When we do that, it's not that we dislike our child or we hate them. And we're not talking about beating, by the way. I don't know what people are talking about. I'm not talking about no bloody
Beating
boxing
is
match.
something completely different.
We're talking that's
Spanking,
Yeah.
slapping, the
Discipline,
bum.
discipline.
That is completely fine. I
Exactly.
think that is absolutely necessary sometimes,
Yes.
especially with some children.
Like they don't know.
No,
when
absolutely.
Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like my mom was super like. I would be like throwing
Bro,
up.
cross me.
I'd be throwing
I'm
up,
getting
and she
PTSD right
wouldn't
now.
stop. Like she
Yeah,
wouldn't.
yeah, no, that's-
she would
that's-
find like
no,
every
that's-
weapon that she could find to like.
I got like
yeah.
scissors thrown at me for no reason.
no.
walking
That's what
up
I'm
the
saying.
stairs.
But why if it comes to that point?
That's
Like,
that's not from the Sunnah. That's not from
Sorry,
the Sunnah.
can
That's
I
not
just
from the
say, as a
We need to-
parent,
yeah.
you need to always exhibit control.
Yeah, yeah.
And even if that means like when disciplining your child, when speaking with your child, communicating your child, you always need to have control. The Prophet Muhammad SAW said, in anger, sit down. As a parent, if you feel like you're so angry in that moment, go to another room, sit down for a few seconds.
Did the Prophet ever spank
and
a child?
then you
though?
come back to your child.
We don't know.
Any of the ummah spank a child? I'm not.
No,
I'm just
I don't
asking
know,
in
I don't know
general.
any hadith on that list.
So therefore, why should we?
So-
why should we
so-
practice?
Raise-
Yeah, so-
for me, the way I see things, the boys today in this generation, I've spoken about it previously. The reason why a lot of them are running wild in the streets is because they've got a lack of discipline
Yes, exactly.
and a lack of slaps.
Yes.
I'll tell you that for free.
And trust me,
because
the-
some of them are stabbing women,
Yes.
children. They have no boundaries.
feel threatened, man.
And they are literally have no morals or respect.
And it goes to a lack
So
of the
I
father
do
figure.
think, yeah,
It's
lack
like- it
of
goes-
father
it-
figure and a
statistics
good slap.
But the good, the
You
good.
know what's interesting though? You see all those roadmen. Most of them actually have gone through physical abuse.
yeah.
Yeah,
Some of them have gone through sexual.
but this is
Not in today's generation.
but this is
you're not
why-
even allowed to hit your kids.
Yeah,
Like,
guys.
you're not allowed to beat your kids.
This is why they turn out that way, and this is the reason why, because divorce has a massive impact. For example, in single mother households, and I'm not blaming the single mothers, but it shows that they are more likely to end up in prison, more likely to get sexually abused, more likely to fall out in school, etc. So the thing is, this is so detrimental, and this is why it shows that masculinity, a fatherly figure, is so vital.
It's a requirement.
It's so important. That's why we talk about the breakdown of the family unit. But just to end it on this note, inshallah, is also one thing that we never talk about is that your relationship with Allah, anytime you see a dispute, because these things affect the man as well. When he sees his wife with his mom, etc., also look at yourself and what sins you're committing. Because the Salaf used to say that we would not commit a sin except that we would see it in our riding beast or in our wife. Meaning that how many of us take account? You need to understand something. Like Allah says in the Quran in Surah Yusuf, the wrongdoers will not be successful. You need to understand something, my dear brothers and sisters who are watching this at home. Your sins have consequences. You're gonna see it. The Salaf would say they would come home and they see their wife bugging out. You know what they'll say? They'll be like, I committed a specific sin here and it is coming out right in front of me. Yeah? Or in the riding beast. The riding beast is not listening to them, yeah? What sin did I commit? Do you see how they connected their sins to the consequences they're going through? So sometimes you need to look and say, what sin did I commit? Istighfar, asking Allah to forgive you, yeah? And wallahi, if you have obedience to Allah, I promise you, Allah will make sure you have obedience in your wife, or vice versa, in your husband, in your mother-in-law. These things have a ripple effect. But what do we do? Let's go to a counselor. Let's do this. Have you tried obeying Allah? Have you tried it? Have you tried being looking at your sins? You don't do that, and you're like, oh, my mother-in-law and my wife are not getting on, or this, that. Have you tried istighfar, Aki? This is what people laugh at this. Oh, brother, istighfar. Okay, brother, this is the deen. Have you tried istighfar? Have you said, oh Allah, forgive me for my sins? That every time I go out the house, I check out girls and I'm talking to girls behind my wife's back. Yeah? And then you want obedience in your wife. You will see it. When you commit sins outside, my brother or my sister, you will see it in your children. You will see it in your car. I'm telling you, bro, you will see the consequences of your sin, ripple effects everywhere. The moment you put Allah first and the moment you start working on yourself, even the little sins, you're like, I don't want to wrong myself. Yeah? Wallahi, let me tell you something. This is the solution. Allah has given His Qur'an and Sunnah. You can listen to me and say, okay, brother Ali, whatever, Qur'an and Sunnah, here we go again. No problem. Have you ever tried it? You haven't. I dare you to try and write down the sins that you commit and ask Allah for repentance. Start working on them. Make sure you never miss your salah. Make sure you're giving a sadaqah. Then come and talk to me. I'm telling you, Aki. I know a brother, he says to me, bro, I swear to God, my marriage would have broken down long time ago from external factors. Wallahi, there's something in my marriage keeping us together. And you will look and it's this brother's actions, what kind of a person he is. Bro, you can get as many shayateen, you can get the evilest mother-in-law. Allah will protect your marriage as long as you have obedience to Him. And you will see obedience in the creation. And if you show disobedience to Him, you will see it everywhere.
And you see it. See a lot of relationships break down.
Yes.
When the lack of remembrance of Allah. You see it. You see 100%. Things start going apart.
Exactly,
you know?
exactly. The closer you get to Allah, I'm telling you, nobody does this. Everybody, he doesn't pray salah, he doesn't do that. Brother, what kind of blessings you want?
Sometimes the person fasts.
What does Allah say in the Quran?
They don't fast.
What does Allah say in the Quran?
It's your own life is gonna be like.
Allah says in the Quran, it's your own hands. That is, bro, your own hands, bro. How many people take into account? They don't. And you know what they do? I'll tell them, look, I'll give this nasiyah. They will still go. They got a marital issue. I will say, brother, do you miss salah? No.
That's where you start, isn't it?
You don't give the basic rights of Allah and you're coming here complaining, what's wrong? My wife doesn't listen to me. Brother, you don't even listen to your Lord.
Yeah.
You don't even listen to Allah. You can't even pray your basic 5 times a day. He feeds you, He looks after you, and you're complaining. I told my wife to wear not to wear makeup. I said, brother, you deserve that, bro. Look at you, man, the disobedience you do to Allah, and look how it bothers you when you tell her don't wear lipstick and she says, get lost. You know what? I feel like telling you, get lost, wallahi. But I hold myself back. I don't want to say that. But again, it goes back to brothers and sisters, and I want to end on this note. It's been tiring. But the point is this, guys. Wallahi, your success is in the Qur'an and the Sunnah. Your success is in obedience to Allah. Please try it. You tried in everything. Counselor, this, that. Try obedience to your Lord. See what it does in your life, inshallah. May Allah bless our honorable sisters and our brothers, inshallah. Till next time, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If you would like to join us as the panel, please get in contact with the Bitter Truth Show at gmail.com. Good night. Assalamu alaikum.
The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever builds a masjid for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will build for him a similar house in Jannah. On that day where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that our books will be given and every little atom weight of good deed you've done will be there. And imagine you see a mountain and you're like, what a lucky person, which righteous person? And Allah says, this is for you. For me? Yes. What did I do? You allowed people to pray. You built a masjid. I never had the money to build a masjid, oh Allah. You helped, you gave towards it, and Allah gives you the reward of as if you've built it. Donate now, guys, and do not delay. And share the video for extra rewards.